Innovations. What did we cover so far in this topic? We covered the linguistic definition of bid'ah. ما أحدث على غير مثال سابق. Something done without precedent. Something done without having any precedent, without a preceding example. That doesn't mean good or bad. And we talked about the religious definition of bid'ah. It has a theological application. That means when we're talking about the creed, when you use bid'ah in the subject of creed, then bid'ah is a bad bid'ah, not good bid'ah. When it comes to aqidah, bid'ah is bad, not good. There's no bid'ah in the aqidah. And that's the majority of this subject here, the subject of this chapter in this here book. And there is a legal definition broader than the creed, broader than looking at it from the perspective of the creed, which is something that does not have documentation in the Quran or the Sunnah. And this also doesn't mean good or bad. Then the legal rules will apply to any particular instance. So if whatever was invented anew, whatever was newly invented, if it falls under the category of something that's obligatory, then it's going to be obligatory even if it's an innovation. If it falls under the category of something that's haram, then it's going to be haram. And it could fall under any of the 5 judgments. Inshallah, we have some documentation about that coming. Ibn Abidin, if you recall, Ibn Abidin, he gave examples for all the 5 judgments of innovations. From there, we focused on the meaning of heresy, which is the innovation in creed. And we talked about the 73 sects that were named in a hadith or mentioned. Their number was mentioned in a hadith. And we listed all 73 groups according to those scholars who take this hadith by its verbatim literal meaning, that there are 73 groups. So if one takes that saying that there are 73, what are those 73? Who are those 73? And how do you answer that there's more than 73 groups? So we talked about that. And there was also a statement that I made last time. I said, I don't know about any deviant group, the group in general, that hasn't reached the level of blasphemy. There is actually one group of Shiites, according to what's documented in the book at Tafsiru fi Din. One group of Shiites that what's documented about them does not have them reaching blasphemy. The Abtariyah. The Abtariyah are the followers of Kathir an-Nuwa, nicknamed Al-Abtar. They are also unrightfully affiliated with Imam Al-Hasan ibn Salih ibn Hayy, upon whom they lied, so they might be sometimes called the Salihiyah. That is like how some deviants might be inaccurately called Hanabila or Salafiyah. They say like the Sulaymaniya, but are neutral about Uthman, not saying about him good or bad. Al-Kawthari said in his commentary on At-Tabsir that the Abtari Shiites are the closest to Ahlus Sunnah. Closest here means least deviated of deviant groups. The deviant group with the minimal amount of deviance. That's what that statement means. The Abtariya Shiites. And know that the Sulaymaniya and the Abtariya deem the Jarudiya as blasphemers for deeming Abu Bakr, Umar, and their followers as blasphemers. So that's all the information I have there about those. But otherwise, all the other groups, there's blasphemy in their creedal tenets. And then from there, we went to talk about the types of bad innovation. Bad innovation in practice and bad innovation in creed. And when we talked about the bad innovation in creed, the bad innovation in creed, we said there's two cases here because some of those bad innovations in creed reach the level of blasphemy and some of them do not. And then we talked about cases that do not reach the level of blasphemy. How many cases we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we want to start now by mentioning blasphemous heresies. Blasphemous heresies. And examples of the blasphemous heresies. This should say heretics. Heretics. Examples of the blasphemous heretics include the Mu'tazila. Because Mu'tazila, what did they say? They said there's no destiny. That's blasphemy. And they said Allah does not have attributes. That's blasphemy. And they said Allah has duties. That's blasphemy. And they said other things. So they are kuffar. All of those are bid'ah innovations. And the murji'ah, the exonerators, they said no believer will be punished for his sins. That's blasphemy. The mushabbiha, the God comparers. So they uh, believe that there is some being like God or someone who has the attributes of God. So that's blasphemy. And those include the Wahhabiyya, the mushabbiha. And the Ahmadiyya, they believe in a prophet after Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Okay, so they are all blasphemers when speaking generally because of their blasphemous heresies. And it is not permissible to doubt about their blasphemy. We talk about the group at large, not talking about each individual one by one. We're not going to charge a person as a kafir for mere affiliation. When giving details, we say that any individual who ascribes himself to one of those blasphemous groups is not charged with blasphemy unless we witness him commit it. So he's not going to be kafir by affiliation. The Sheikh says that it is not meant by charging the people of deviant beliefs with blasphemy to charge every individual who was affiliated with them with blasphemy. Yes, because among the individuals, yani some individuals, you can say it that way, because some individuals are those who do not agree with them in some of their blasphemous sayings. That's how you'd find a person, he calls himself a Salafi, and then maybe he doesn't believe that Allah is in a place, but maybe he believes other things. Maybe he has a problem with bid'ah, and he has problem with madhabs, and he has problem with tawassul. So then you didn't call him a kafir because he didn't say very clear kufr, even though he has wrong ideas about things. For this reason, the scholars of hadith accepted the narration of some of the people of deviant beliefs. Those who did not reach the level of blasphemy, we talked about that. If you have a question, feel free. It is forbidden to sit with such people to entertain them in their innovation. The mubtadi'ah, the innovators. It is forbidden to sit with the innovators to entertain them in their innovation. Yani, when you're sitting with them, entertains them in their innovation. Entertains or encourages. So, encourage might be a good word here. Entertain here means to give an audience, to give an audience to someone. You would say to someone, don't entertain him. It means don't be an audience for him. So it's forbidden to sit with such heretics to entertain them or entertaining them or encouraging them in their innovation, as well as other major sinners. It's not permissible to sit with any major sinners when that's entertaining them or encouraging them. And it is disliked to pray behind them. Those who did not reach the level of blasphemy, but they do have some mistakes in their creed. Better not to pray behind them, but it's valid because they are Muslims. Yunus ibn Abdul A'la said, I said to Muhammad ibn Idris al-Shafi'i, our companion, our colleague, Al-Layth ibn Sa'd said, had I seen a deviant person of whims walking on water, I would not accept from him. Ash-Shafi'i said, he fell short. Had I seen one walking on the air, I would not accept from him. So all that is a quote. Yunus ibn Abdul A'la said, I said to Muhammad ibn Idris al-Shafi'i, our companion Al-Layth ibn Sa'd said, had I seen a deviant person of whims walking on water, I would not accept from him. Ash-Shafi'i said, he fell short. Yani, that's not good enough. So Ash-Shafi'i said something even more emphatic. Had I seen one walking in the air, I would not accept from him. Because walking on water, at least he has a surface to walk on. If he's walking in the air, he doesn't even have a surface to walk on. Still, it, his walking in the air is not enough to make him trustworthy. One's walking on water or walking in the air is not enough to make him trustworthy. Because he could be assisted by devils. So the statement means that by having deviant beliefs, one would not be among the people of karamas and he would not be trusted. To follow the ways of the groups other than Ahlus Sunnah is very close to blasphemy. Yes, you're right on the edge there. So praise is due to Allah that He willed for us to be on their path, the path of the people of the prophetic way. This nation will become mixed with many people of deviant beliefs, even though they are apparently Muslims. And some of those groups are reiterations of groups that existed in the previous nations. Yani, previous nations also had sects that broke away from the Sunnah of the Prophet of previous nations, the Sunnah of Musa, the Sunnah of Isa, and some of their deviated groups are like the deviated groups of this nation. It's like natural course of things for some people to eventually stop following the law of the prophet sent to them and revert to believing that God is in the sky, even though that's not what any prophet taught the people. or even for some of them to become destiny deniers or the like. So some groups are reiterations of groups that existed in the previous nations, as said by Abu al-Muzaffar, like the likeners, the God comparers. There are amongst the Jews those, and the destiny deniers. There are amongst the Jews those, meaning for the Yahud, and they were originally their ancestors. That is, they were following the law of the Torah. They were upon Tawheed and Fiqh, monotheism and sacred law. But eventually there emerged from them mushabbiha, God comparers, believing that God is in the sky having organs and body parts, like Wahhabis. Wahhabis are like Jews. Subhanallah wa bihamdi. Uh, and some of them became atheists, the Jews. So they're like Mu'tazila, as if they're emerged from out of the Jews, Mushabbiha and Mu'tazila. And that did happen. Thus, it is necessary for the believer to know their cases, the cases of these deviated groups, so that he can be distinguished from them and protect his own conviction from their innovations. Our Sheikh said in a copy of the summary, المسلمون هم الذين آمنوا بالله ورسوله وتخلوا عن الكفر. Muslims are those who believe in Allah and His Messenger and refrain from blasphemy. Amal Islamiyun. As for Islamics, not Muslims but Islamics, فمعناه ينتسبون إلى الإسلام. They are people affiliated with Islam. It means to be attributed to Islam. Being Islamic means to be attributed to Islam. Doesn't mean Muslim though necessarily. مع صحة العقيدة أو بدون صحة العقيدة. Whether or not their conviction were valid. Yani with valid creed or without valid creed. Meaning, the Muslims who have correct creed, they are Islamics. That means attributed to Islam. And non-Muslims, some of them are also Islamic, and that means they are affiliated with Islam, and they're not affiliated with another religion, but they're not Muslims. فَيَعْتَبِرُونَ أَنفُسَهُم مُسْلِمِينَ. They regard themselves as Muslims. وَهُمْ لَيْسُوا مُسْلِمِينَ. Though they are not Muslims. لِأَنَّهُمْ كَفَرُوا. Because they committed blasphemy. لكن ينتسبون إلى الإسلام ولم ينتسبوا إلى دين آخر. However, they are affiliated with Islam and not affiliated with another religion. And what is this copy of the summary here? Yeah, so the book of obligatory knowledge, the summary of obligatory knowledge, has various drafts or nusakh copies. And there was a copy that was published that has these statements in them. And I took that. I read, Yani, I took that copy. So this meaning, what I mean to say is, what's right here that I'm displaying to you is not something I saw written and then I copied it. Rather, I took that, I read that this is in the Mukhtasar. I remember saying, oh, wow. So Sheikh added something there. And then this copy was not being circulated anymore. As if this edition here was edited out, but nevertheless was present in a copy. And these words are correct and they are precious. So I logged them here. Ameen wa iyyakum. Wa subhanallahi wa bihamdihi. As for the good innovation, the people of knowledge have indeed innovated what does not contradict the Quran or hadiths, such as prayers, dhikrs, writing the salah and salam on the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, yani writing it out and not merely saying it. The hollow mihrab, the concave, uh, hollowed out part in the masjid where the imam stands to pray. The adhan tower, the dots and vowels of the Quran, the Sufi tariqas, the Mawlid, yani, and the Mawlid. So now it's just a list of them. How many did we just list here? Prayers, and you see there's footnotes for each instance. We're going to come back and read the footnotes, inshallah. Prayers, dhikrs, writing the salat and the salam on the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, the hollow mihrab, the adhan tower, the dots and vowels of the Quran, the Sufi tariqas, and the Mawlid. That's 8. So that's a little bit as far as innovations, far few compared to all those bad innovations. The scholars call this type of innovation sunnah hasana, a good sunnah or a nice sunnah. And they call it sunnat khair, a sunnah of goodness, or bid'at hasana, a good innovation, or bid'ah mustahabba, a recommended innovation. These all fall under the hadith. Man sanna fil islami sunnatan hasana falahu ajruha wa ajru man amila biha ba'dah. Whoever makes in Islam a good way, yani, whoever paves in Islam a good path, has its reward, and the reward of whoever practices it after him. Here it says in the English, until Judgment Day. That's not in the Arabic though. In some versions of the Arabic, it is ila yawmil qiyamah, unless it's missing here in the Arabic. But it's permissible to narrate the hadiths by their meaning. Min ghayri an yanqusa min ujurihim shay, without lessening any of their rewards. Whoever makes in Islam a good way, or whoever paves in Islam a good path. So if you say pave a good path, then that's very literal there, because that's the meaning of sunnah linguistically. A sunnah is a tariqah or a tariq, which is a sabil, a way, a path. So there is a sunnah hasana and a sunnah sayyi'ah. A good sunnah, yani a good way, a good practice, a good method, a good path. And there's an evil sunnah, an evil way, an evil path. Man sanna fil islami sunnatan, whoever paved in Islam a path, that is hasanatan, a good path, falahu ajruha, its reward is his. Wa ajru man amila biha ba'dahu, and the reward of whoever practices it after him. The Shaykh said, rahimahullah ta'ala, so those who transgressed and were displeased with what the Muslims innovated, and with, they were displeased with what the Muslims were pleased, they said, it is a forbidden innovation, yani such and such thing. Such and such, this thing, whatever it might be, like Mawlid, for example, or Tariqah, or dhikr beads, for example, they would say, this is a forbidden innovation because the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not do it. Where is the religious evidence for what they said? That such and such is a forbidden innovation because the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not do it. Is there in the law of Allah a rule stated as whatever the Messenger of Allah did not do is a forbidden innovation? Now, in the mind of a Wahhabi, yes. In the mind of a Wahhabi, that's very clear. He's saying, yeah, of course there is. A Wahhabi is going to read this paragraph, think is that it's stupid or disingenuous. But that's due to his short sightedness about the meaning of the hadiths in this topic. There is no law, there is no rule that is that anything the messenger did not do is a forbidden innovation. No. وَسُبْحَانَ اللَّهِ وَبِحَمْدِهِ